Welcome to our channel. We've poured a lot of effort into these stories, and we'd love for you to subscribe. Your support helps us reach more people and bring you even more great content. Thanks for being here. Now, let's get into the story. The sky above Virlia shimmered like liquid glass, reflecting 1,000 colors that didn't exist anywhere else in the galaxy. It was the kind of place diplomats like to show off, elegant, peaceful, entirely too shiny for someone like Dr. Ethan Hale. He was sweating under his formal jacket, trying to figure out which fork on the table was meant for the glowing green appetizer that looked suspiciously alive. His badge said Human Delegate Medical Liaison, which was just a polite way of saying don't touch anything important. "Try the Lumashells," whispered Lieutenant Rhea, his fellow human and designated babysitter for the event. "They taste like lemon and regret." Ethan shot her a sideways grin. "Perfect. Just how I like my food, mildly poisonous and emotionally complicated." Across the vast crystalline hall, ambassadors from 50 different worlds mingled beneath chandeliers made of suspended plasma fields. The air smelled faintly of ozone and diplomacy. Drones glided overhead, capturing every smile, every handshake. The Galactic Concord Summit was supposed to mark a new age of peace between the Virlians and the neighboring sectors, a chance to finally stop blowing each other up long enough to trade shiny things. Then she entered. Princess Saracen of Virlia moved as though the air itself wanted to hold her in place. Her skin carried a soft luminescent glow, like moonlight filtered through silver dust. Her long, slender ears framed a face that would have made poets quit their jobs out of sheer inferiority. And yet, despite her elegance, there was something curious in her expression, an alertness, a spark that suggested she'd rather be anywhere else. Ethan leaned toward Rhea. "You think she ever trips over those robes, or does royal grace come pre-installed?" Rhea didn't answer. She was too busy staring at the princess, just like everyone else. Even the security drones hovered a little closer, their scanners flickering uncertainly. The speeches began. Words about unity, about shared destinies, about how everyone in the galaxy really, truly wanted peace, as long as peace didn't interfere with profits. Ethan zoned out somewhere around the third toast. He was about to sneak another bite of the lemon regret shell when the floor trembled. At first, he thought it was just the orchestra tuning up. But the vibration deepened, a bone-level hum that crawled up his spine. Then came the explosion. Light and sound collided, turning the hall into chaos. The crystal domes shattered, raining down glittering shards. Ethan hit the ground, covering his head as the blast wave rolled over him. His ears rang, his breath came in sharp, mechanical bursts. Somewhere above the smoke and screaming, the plasma chandeliers flickered and died. He coughed, blinking through the haze. Bodies were moving, some crawling, some not. The acrid stench of burnt fabric mixed with the metallic tang of ionized air. Training kicked in. He scrambled up, his medkit clattering against his hip. "Rhea!" he shouted. No answer. Only the moan of collapsing architecture and the frantic hum of emergency drones trying to triage hundreds of wounded diplomats. And then he saw her. The princess lay near the dais, surrounded by her royal guard, her luminous skin dimmed to a ghostly pallor. One of the guards was shouting into a communicator, while two others tried to stabilize her with medical fields that fizzled uselessly against her wounds. Blue plasma burns crawled across her chest, deep, spiraling injuries that glowed faintly as if her body itself was fighting the light. Ethan pushed forward. "Let me through. I'm a medic." A guard blocked him instantly, tall and armored, voice harsh through his respirator. "Human interference is forbidden." "Yeah, well, so is dying at peace summits." Ethan snapped, ducking under the guard's arm before the man could react. He slid to the princess's side, the heat from her wounds pulsing against his hands. Her breathing was shallow, uneven, the kind of pattern he'd seen too many times before on too many battlefields. Her eyes fluttered open for a moment, pale silver irises reflecting the fire around them. "Don't move," he said softly. "You're doing great, just Try not to vaporize, okay? She tried to speak, but the sound came out more like a sigh carried on a shimmer of light. The royal medics shouted at him again, but Ethan barely heard them. Their equipment wasn't working. Their healing fields were bouncing off her bioenergy like rain on glass. He fumbled in his kit, though he already knew there was nothing inside that could handle alien plasma physiology. His brain scrambled for options. He could try a synthetic coagulator, maybe a carbon mesh seal. Another tremor shook the ground, nearly throwing him off balance. Debris rained down, and one of the guards screamed as a support beam crashed nearby. "Dr. Hale!" Ria's voice cut through the chaos. She was limping, bleeding from a cut above her eye. "Evac's on the way." "Too late for that," Ethan said, staring at the princess's slowing pulse. The glow beneath her skin flickered like a candle in wind. "She's not going to make it." He didn't think, he just acted. Ignoring the protests, he reached out and placed his hand over the wound, skin to skin. There was a flash, not bright but deep, like something inside the universe had inhaled sharply. Energy surged through him, hot and cold at once. He felt it, her pain, her heartbeat, her dying light. And something inside him, some raw, primitive human instinct, pushed back. Her body arched, light spiraling through the air around them. The burns faded, sealing over with gold-white tissue. The guards froze. Ria's mouth fell open. Even the hovering med drones stopped moving, their scanners whirring in disbelief. When it was over, Ethan collapsed backward, gasping. The princess was breathing slow, steady, alive. Silence. Then one of the guards whispered, "Impossible." Ethan wiped sweat from his brow. "Yeah," he said weakly. "Well, that's what they said about pineapple pizza too." Nobody laughed. He looked around at the stunned alien faces, sighed, and added, "I'm guessing hugs are off the table." The princess's silver eyes opened again, locking on his. Her lips parted, and though her voice was faint, her words carried like the echo of a star. "What are you?" Ethan, dizzy and half delirious, managed a crooked grin. "Honestly, still trying to figure that out myself." The sky of Virelia glowed like 1,000 melted jewels, too beautiful, too artificial, too expensive for anyone to truly feel comfortable under. "Doctor." Ethan Hale, for one, was sweating through his collar. He wasn't built for galactic diplomacy. He was built for triage tents, for adrenaline and burnt ozone, not silver tablecloths and 3 kinds of forks. He stared at the luminescent appetizer on his plate, something green and wiggly that pulsed every few seconds like it had a heartbeat, and decided not to ask. "Eat it," Lieutenant Rhea murmured from his left, not looking up from her datapad. "It's rude not to." "I'm a medic," Ethan muttered. "I don't eat things that glow unless they're diagnostic tools." "Then pretend it's one," she replied. He poked it with his fork. It shivered in what might have been self-defense. "It's looking at me." "Ethan." "Fine." He sighed, took a bite, and instantly regretted every life choice that had brought him to this moment. Tastes like sadness and lemon disinfectant. Across the banquet hall, the representatives of 38 sentient species mingled, all wearing the kind of polite smiles that said, "I'd vaporize you if this weren't televised." The air was rich with perfume, electric hums, and the faint scent of ozone that followed Virelian energy tech. Above, plasma chandeliers shimmered like miniature suns, each one worth more than his entire medical transport ship. This was the Galactic Concord Summit, the event that was supposed to end 3 decades of border wars. Every ambassador was here. Every species wanted a photo shaking hands. And somewhere near the dais, beneath banners of starlight and nanoweave silk, stood the Virelian royal family, glittering, graceful, and deeply uncomfortable. And then she arrived. Princess Saracen didn't walk so much as glide. Her silver hair flowed like it was underwater, her long, slender ears tipped in blue gemstones that pulsed faintly with her heartbeat. Her skin was pale gold, faintly luminous, her eyes twin moons of liquid mercury. Ethan, despite himself, stopped mid-sip of whatever alien beverage he'd been pretending to enjoy. Rhea followed his gaze. "Don't even think about it." I wasn't, Ethan said automatically, then under his breath, much. The speeches began. Predictable things, words about unity, harmony, mutual respect. It was all beautifully meaningless. Ethan tuned out somewhere around the part about interstellar prosperity and wondered if the buffet would reopen once everyone stopped pretending to like each other. And then the lights flickered. At first, just a subtle pulse. Then the chandeliers dimmed, humming irregularly. A murmur rippled through the crowd. The ambassador from Clithon IV twitched his mandibles in irritation. And then came the blast. It wasn't sound so much as pressure, a violent, concussive wave that tore the air apart. The floor cracked. Tables and bodies lifted, then fell. Glass shattered into luminous dust. The music died mid-note. Ethan hit the ground hard, covering his head. His ears rang. The smell of burnt ozone and flesh filled the air. He coughed, blinked through the smoke, and forced himself up. His body was on autopilot: search, assess, stabilize. Around him, chaos reigned. Guards shouted orders. Drones screamed warnings in 6 languages. Somewhere, someone was crying in static bursts, and then he saw her. The princess lay on the shattered dais, surrounded by her frantic guards. Her glow was fading, her breathing shallow. A deep plasma wound crossed her chest, glowing faintly blue, the signature of a high-frequency energy detonation. The royal medics were already working, their diagnostic arrays buzzing, their hands trembling as they applied light fields and regeneration pulses. But nothing held. "Human, stay back," one of the guards shouted as Ethan pushed forward through the smoke. "I'm a medic," he yelled back, flashing his badge. "A human medic." The guard snarled as if that were somehow worse than being unarmed. "Yes, sorry, our gods are on lunch break, now move." He ducked past the guard before anyone could stop him and knelt beside the princess. Her eyes fluttered open, faintly silver, glassy with pain. She tried to speak, but only a soft hum came out, like a dying note of a song. Hey, Ethan said quickly, scanning the injury. "You're gonna be fine, just a scratch. Okay, more like a giant hole, but we'll work on that." The Virelian medics shouted in protest. Their tools sparked uselessly against her skin. Ethan could see why. The energy feedback was frying their equipment. Her physiology was rejecting the treatment, like her body couldn't tell if it was alive or not anymore. He had nothing better. No miracle serum, no alien nanogel, just adrenaline and bad ideas. "All right, your glowiness," he muttered. "Time for the stupid option." He pressed his hand to the wound. The reaction was instant. "Light not Yes," said the older man. "Her vital light restored. Her energy field stabilized after your contact. She requests your presence against our advice." Ethan blinked. "Wait, she wants to see me." "She claims you carry a resonance with her life frequency." He grinned. "Ah, so I'm basically her cosmic soulmate. That's gonna look great on the official report." The medic sighed through her mask. "Humans." They released him from the restraining field reluctantly and led him through corridors that looked grown rather than built. The architecture pulsed with faint bioluminescence, like the ship itself was alive. Virelians moved aside as he passed, their silver eyes wary, their whispers fluttering like ghostly birds. He caught words he didn't understand, but the tone was unmistakable. Fear. At the end of the corridor, they entered a chamber of woven crystal and flowing light. The princess sat upon a raised couch, her body draped in white filament fabric that shimmered with every breath. She looked better, impossibly so. The wounds were gone, her skin radiant again. But there was something different about her now, a subtle flicker in her glow, as if her light had learned to mimic human warmth. "Dr. Hale," she said softly, "you returned to consciousness." "Yeah," he said, trying not to stare too obviously. "Sorry for the whole collapsing thing. Turns out miracle working's exhausting." Her lips curved into the faintest smile. "You just even now." "It's a coping mechanism," he admitted. "If I stop, I'll start screaming." Her laugh was quiet, crystalline, and the guards visibly flinched at the sound, as if laughter in her presence violated protocol. She gestured to the seat beside her. Come, sit. I would know what you did to me. Ethan sat carefully, glancing at the royal attendants who were glaring daggers in his direction. You make it sound intentional. Honestly, I just panicked. You were dying, your doctors were frying circuits, and I figured, hey, maybe human stupidity can fix this. She studied him. When you touched me, I saw memories, a world of storms, fire in the skies, creatures clawing from oceans. You have lived in death and called it home. He shrugged. Yeah, Earth's great this time of year. Acid rains down to only 3 days a week. Her expression softened. Your people endure such a world, and yet you laugh. Best defense we've got, Ethan said. Laughter's cheaper than therapy. For a moment neither spoke. The air hummed with faint static. Then the princess said quietly, the royal council believes your kind may possess divine resonance, that your biology holds what we have lost. Ethan snorted. Divine resonance. Lady, I barely hold my caffeine level steady. Her eyes gleamed with curiosity. Still, your touch healed me. My physicians say your cells emit energy signatures that align with sacred harmonics, patterns our species lost millennia ago. So I'm a walking power bank with bad hair. Great. Perhaps more, she said, leaning closer. Perhaps a bridge between what is mortal and what was once eternal. He blinked, no pressure then. The room darkened briefly as a transmission drone entered. It projected an image of the royal council chamber, high-ranking Virelians arguing furiously. Ethan caught fragments through the translator. Containment, sacred contamination, biological heresy. Saracen frowned. They wish to quarantine you. Quarantine, he repeated. I save your life and now I get room service with a side of imprisonment. They fear you, she said simply. As do I, but also I am curious. He gave her a lopsided grin. Curious is fine. Just, try not to dissect me while I'm still using my organs. Her laugh came again, small but genuine. You are unlike any being I have known. Yeah, Ethan said, leaning back as the guards shifted uneasily. That's what my ex said too, right before she threw me out an airlock metaphorically. So, where do we go from here, Your Highness? Her silver eyes held his. We find out what you are, Dr. Hale, before the galaxy decides for us. He groaned. Fantastic, another day, another existential crisis. But despite the sarcasm, a flicker of unease settled in his chest. Because somewhere deep inside, under the exhaustion and jokes, something was changing, something humming quietly in rhythm with the princess's light. Ethan woke up to the rhythmic hum of machinery and the distinct smell of antiseptic that all medical facilities shared, sterile, metallic, and faintly judgmental. He blinked against soft blue light until the shapes around him stopped wobbling. The ceiling above him wasn't human-made. It shimmered faintly, alive with moving lines like veins of light. Every so often the whole room pulsed, as if the walls were breathing. Okay, he muttered. Either I'm in a hospital or inside a very considerate jellyfish. A calm voice answered from somewhere to his right. You are in the royal biostasis wing of the Virelian High Palace. Ethan turned his head too fast and instantly regretted it. A tall Virelian stood beside the bed, dressed in silver robes, his ears adorned with intricate metal bands that pulsed with light in rhythm to his speech. His expression was perfectly neutral in that way only doctors and bureaucrats mastered. Ah, Ethan said weakly. Good, because for a moment I thought I'd died and been reincarnated as fancy furniture. You are fortunate to be alive, human Hale, the doctor said. Your cellular system should have disintegrated from energy overload. We do not understand why it did not. Ethan managed a crooked grin. Yeah, that's a common theme with me. My professor said the same thing about my medical degree. The doctor blinked slowly, which Ethan took as Virelian, for I regret every second of this conversation. A faint chime interrupted them. The door dissolved into mist, and a figure entered, slender, radiant, unmistakable. Princess Saracen. She wore a loose garment woven from soft light, her silver hair cascading like liquid starlight over her shoulders. The wound that had nearly killed her was gone, replaced by smooth, luminous skin. Her eyes glowed faintly when she saw him. Ethan tried to sit up, then decided against it as the room spun. "Your Highness," he said carefully, "you're supposed to be resting. You know, after the whole nearly exploded thing." She smiled faintly. "And you are supposed to be unconscious. Yet here we are, both disappointments to our physicians." The doctor made a sound that was probably disapproval, then retreated through the mist door, muttering something about unpredictable primate physiology. Once they were alone, Saracen stepped closer, studying him with a curiosity that was both scientific and disconcertingly personal. "When you touched me," she began softly, "you did something our healers could not. You broke the laws of energy exchange." Ethan rubbed the back of his neck. "Yeah, sorry about that. Usually when I touch people, they just file complaints, not religious reformations." Her laugh, a clear, melodic sound, filled the sterile room like sunlight. "Our priests are already arguing about you," she said. "Some believe you carry the starfire, the divine spark. Others believe you are a weapon." "Oh, good," Ethan said. "Always nice when you can split the difference between miracle and mass destruction." Her smile faded into contemplation. "What are you truly?" He hesitated. "Honestly, a medic from a planet nobody liked to visit because everything there tries to kill you. You get used to it. Maybe that's why my biology didn't fry when I touched you." "You mean your home world, Earth?" He nodded. "Yeah, big blue, occasionally on fire." She tilted her head, intrigued. "And on this world of yours, pain and death are common." "Let's put it this way," he said. "Our planet's motto might as well be, if it's not poisonous, it's probably sharp." Her eyes widened slightly, a mix of awe and disbelief. "And yet you survive." "Survive, thrive, complain a lot, it's kind of our thing." A silence stretched between them, filled only by the hum of the biolights. Then Saracen sat gracefully on the edge of his bed, her gaze never leaving him. "You saved me," she said quietly, "when every law of science said it was impossible. The moment your hand touched mine, I felt warmth, yes, but also something else. Something like," she hesitated, "life remembering itself." Ethan swallowed, unsure what to do with words like that. "That's a lot better than what it felt like on my end. More like being hit by a power line that was also having an existential crisis." She smiled again, the corners of her eyes softening. "You make light of everything." "It's either that or panic," he said, "and I panic loud." Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of marching footsteps. The door mist parted again and three figures entered, royal guards, followed by a tall, stern man with a crown-like structure fused to his skull. The High Regent, the princess's father. His presence was heavy, magnetic, like gravity had opinions. "So," Ethan muttered under his breath, "that's the in-law look of death." The regent stopped at the foot of the bed, eyes narrowing. "Human," he said, his voice resonating with layered tones. "You touched royal flesh without permission. You interfered with the sacred healing protocols of our kind. And yet, you saved my daughter." Ethan blinked. "That last part feels like it should have been the headline, but okay." The regent's gaze was unreadable. "Our science cannot explain your actions. Our faith cannot accept them. You are a contradiction, and contradictions are dangerous." Ethan tried to smile, but his pulse was spiking. "Yeah, I get that a lot too." Saracen stood. "Father, he meant no harm. Without him I would be." "Silence," the regent said, not unkindly but with finality. "The council will decide what is to be done. For now, the human is to remain under observation." Ethan raised a hand weakly. "Observation, like a guest or like a lab rat?" No one answered, which was, unfortunately, an answer. As the regent turned to leave, Saracen gave Ethan a small, reassuring nod. "Do not fear," she said softly. "I will speak for you." Ethan managed a lopsided grin. "Good. I was planning to represent myself, but I'm told sarcasm doesn't translate well in royal courts." When they left him alone again, the biolights dimmed to a soothing blue. Ethan stared up at the ceiling, his thoughts a mix of exhaustion and absurdity. He'd come to a peace summit. He'd ended up healing an alien princess with his bare hands, annoying her father and possibly founding a new religion. He sighed. Yep, he murmured to himself, just another Tuesday. Ethan discovered that observation, in Virelian terms, didn't mean being gently monitored with a few harmless scans. It meant being followed by floating spheres that hummed like judgmental bees, confined to a gleaming room with walls that were entirely too fascinated by his vital signs, and asked invasive questions by what he could only describe as an overly polite AI therapist. Please describe the sensation you experienced upon physical contact with Her Highness, the voice asked again for the 5th time. Ethan replied, rubbing the bridge of his nose, like someone plugged my nervous system into a lightning storm and then apologized afterward. You ever stick your hand in a toaster? Multiply that by divine intervention. The AI paused. That input is not medically precise. Neither is whatever happened to me, he muttered. Every hour they ran more tests. Blood samples, neural resonance mapping, metabolic harmonics. Half the procedures he didn't even have vocabulary for. They drew diagrams, muttered equations, and occasionally stared at him like he was an unstable bomb wrapped in lab humor. When they weren't scanning him, they were debating how he worked. He exhibits no energy emission, said one scientist, pacing with a data slab. Yet the regenerative output was measurable in gigawatts. Impossible, said another. Human biology is too primitive. Perhaps his cells are conduits for a latent subspace field. Ethan raised a hand. Saracen caught him before he fell. Enough, stop the process. The scientists hesitated, torn between awe and fear. The light faded. The soldier inside the pod opened his eyes, alive, whole. Ethan, meanwhile, slumped against her, drained but conscious. Well, he rasped, looks like I still got it. 10 out of 10 for cosmic weirdness. Saracen's expression was unreadable, part relief, part something deeper. You should rest. I should charge by the miracle, he muttered, then groaned. Actually, no, capitalism would ruin this too. The council declared the test a success. The word miracle spread like fire through the city. Outside the palace walls, believers gathered, chanting in languages Ethan couldn't even recognize. By nightfall, his face was on every news feed. Some called him healer, some called him weapon. Ethan just wanted a sandwich and 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep. He lay in the dim glow of his quarters, staring at the ceiling. Note to self, he murmured. Next peace conference, bring less charm, more snacks. Outside, the stars pulsed faintly, as if the universe itself was watching, curious about what this ridiculous human might do next. Virelia had never been quiet, but lately the palace vibrated with a strange kind of noise, not mechanical, not political, but spiritual. Everywhere Ethan turned, people whispered his name in reverence or suspicion. Drones followed him like paparazzi with existential anxiety, and street vendors were already selling glowing trinkets shaped like human hands. He'd somehow become a walking meme of divine science, and he hadn't even had breakfast yet. He stared at his reflection in the mirror, messy hair, tired eyes, and a faint shimmer under his skin that hadn't been there before. Great, he muttered. All I needed. I'm radioactive Jesus. The door chimed, and Saracen entered without waiting for a response. She carried a small crystalline tablet, projecting lines of Virelian script that twisted like liquid light. You're trending, she said dryly. I was afraid of that. Please tell me they at least used a flattering picture. She smiled faintly. Half of the planet thinks you're a prophet. The other half thinks you're a dangerous biological experiment that escaped containment. So, pretty much like my college reputation. She sat down beside him, the soft glow of her presence painting the walls silver. The council is split. Some want to grant humanity special recognition. Others want to isolate Earth until they understand what makes you capable of this energy transference. Ethan frowned. You mean dissect it out of us? Her silence was confirmation enough. He stood and paced, running a hand through his hair. You know, back home, when someone figures out a new medicine, they throw a party. Here, they start planning autopsies. She looked up at him. You changed everything, Ethan. We believed that healing of such magnitude was the domain of the gods. Now the people are asking why the gods needed you to do it. He let out a soft laugh that didn't quite reach his eyes. Funny thing about gods, they hate competition. A chime from her wristband interrupted them. She tapped it, frowning as holographic text appeared. The High Regent has summoned you, immediately. Ethan groaned. Oh good. I was hoping to get yelled at by an 8-foot monarch today. Really keeps the blood pressure sharp. The royal chamber was a cathedral of light and gravity. Massive energy conduits arced through the walls like veins of living crystal, humming softly as if the room itself were sentient. The High Regent stood at the far end, flanked by advisors and guards, his presence radiating authority and exhaustion in equal measure. Human hail, he said as Ethan approached. You have become the most discussed being in this sector of space. Miracles, they call them. Your touch reverses death. Do you deny this? Ethan shifted uncomfortably. I wouldn't say reverse death. More like slap it on the wrist until it gives up. A ripple of murmurs ran through the chamber. The regent's expression didn't change. Do you understand the implications of your existence? Empires are built on faith. You have shaken that foundation. Not on purpose, Ethan said. I didn't exactly plan on crash landing into theology. The regent stepped closer, eyes glowing faintly with inner light. Our priests claim you are the starborn healer, the one foretold to bridge life and void. Others claim you are a weapon designed to infiltrate divine law itself. Tell me, human, which are you? Ethan hesitated, then shrugged. Honestly, sir, I'm just a medic with a god-awful caffeine addiction. I didn't come here to rewrite your scriptures. The regent studied him for a long moment, then turned to Saracen. Daughter, you speak in his defense, yet your bond to him endangers the crown. The people see you together and whisper of forbidden unions. Do you deny affection for this human? Saracen's gaze didn't waver. No, I do not deny it. The chamber fell silent. Ethan felt his stomach drop. He began. For the record, I did not ask her to say that. The regent's jaw tightened. Then hear me clearly, human. Your presence disrupts balance. You are hereby confined to the inner quarters until the council reaches a decision. Your safety and hers depends on obedience. Guards stepped forward. Ethan sighed. Yeah, sure, I'll stay put. Wouldn't want to ruin another religious hierarchy before lunch. Back in his quarters, Saracen appeared again after sunset, slipping past security drones with the practiced stealth of someone far too royal for sneaking. She sat cross-legged on the floor, the stars visible through the transparent wall behind her. They'll decide soon, she said quietly. If they cannot understand you, they may choose to fear you. Ethan flopped onto the couch. Great. I've always wanted to be Galactic Public Enemy #1. You could run, she suggested. He looked at her, surprised. And go where? Half the galaxy thinks I'm sacred, the other half wants to dissect me. I'd rather stay where at least the food glows in the dark. She laughed softly, then her expression grew thoughtful. When you healed me, I saw something, not just light, but memories. Worlds scorched by storms, creatures struggling, evolving, enduring. It was as if your essence carried the memory of survival itself. He leaned back, staring at the stars. Yeah, Earth's good at that, surviving, even when it shouldn't. She reached out, touching his wrist gently. Perhaps that is what makes you extraordinary, not divinity, not power, just persistence. He smiled faintly. Persistence and sarcasm, the human legacy. Outside, the night shifted. From the city below rose a soft glow, not from the lights of industry, but from crowds gathered in prayer, chanting his name. The sight made Ethan's chest tighten. He didn't want followers. He wanted answers. Saris, he said quietly, what if this healing thing isn't just biology? What if it's something ancient, something that connects us all? She met his gaze, silver eyes reflecting the distant stars. Then perhaps, she whispered, The universe has not chosen you to change us, Ethan Hale. Perhaps it has chosen us to remind you that you are not alone. He sat in silence, watching the light rise from the city like a tide of faith and fear. Somewhere deep inside, something pulsed, not pain, not power, but recognition. He chuckled softly to himself. "You know," he said, "I used to think saving lives would make me popular. Should have known the universe would turn it into a public relations nightmare." Saracen's laughter joined his, light and human all at once. And for a moment, just one moment, the galaxy outside their window didn't seem quite so vast or cruel. The first sign that things were about to go wrong came in the form of an alarm. Not the polite kind that softly hums a warning, but the kind that sounds like the universe is personally offended. Ethan nearly fell off his bunk as the walls of his quarters pulsed red. "Attention!" An automated voice announced calmly. "Containment breach detected in the inner quarters. Please remain calm while you are inevitably doomed." Ethan groaned. They really need to reprogram that voice. He threw on his jacket, still half asleep, and peeked into the corridor. Guards were running, plasma rifles drawn, their faces a mix of confusion and panic. A soft shimmer of distortion flickered at the end of the hall like light bending around an invisible shape. "Oh, fantastic," he muttered. "Invisible intruders, because today wasn't dramatic enough." Then came the explosion, not loud, but deep, a concussion of compressed air and energy that made the floor ripple beneath his feet. He ducked as shards of glowing crystal flew past him. When the smoke cleared, Saracen stood in the middle of the corridor, her hair wild, her long ears trembling with adrenaline. "Saris, what in all cosmic nonsense are you doing here?" "Rescuing you," she said simply, tossing him a compact blaster. "Before they decide that studying you is safer than protecting you." He caught it clumsily. "Rescuing me? You mean the guards and the 20-meter energy barrier aren't just for decoration?" Her expression softened for a moment. "They voted. The council decided to detain you permanently until they could determine if your biology poses a threat. So basically, a very polite way of saying lab rat." "Great." He sighed, shaking his head. "You couldn't have just brought coffee instead." She smiled faintly. "You'd be surprised how difficult it is to smuggle caffeine through security." The two sprinted down the corridor, alarms still screaming overhead. Ethan tried to keep up, his lungs burning. "You know," he gasped, "you run a lot faster for someone technically part of royalty." "I run faster," she said between breaths, "because I've had to outrun responsibilities my whole life." That's weirdly relatable. They turned a corner and stopped short ahead of them. A group of royal guards blocked the way, weapons raised. The leader stepped forward, his armor gleaming with authority. "Princess Saracen, by order of the High Regent, you are to stand down immediately." Ethan raised his hands. "Hey fellas, any chance we could do this without the shooty part?" The guard ignored him, eyes fixed on Saracen. "You endanger the crown with your actions." Her gaze hardened. "The crown endangers itself when it forgets compassion." Ethan blinked. "Wow, that was very quotable. You should put that on palace mugs." Then, before the guards could react, she tapped her wrist console and the hallway lights flickered. The air shimmered with static, and a moment later the guards' weapons powered down, disabled by an electromagnetic pulse. "Go," she shouted, grabbing Ethan's arm. They burst through a service hatch, sliding down a maintenance shaft that smelled faintly of ozone and burnt metal. Ethan landed awkwardly, groaning. 10 out of 10 for excitement," he muttered. "Minus several million for spinal alignment." Their escape route led to the royal hangar, a cavernous chamber filled with ships that gleamed like living creatures asleep. The hum of power resonated through the air. Sarah sprinted toward a small transport craft shaped like a crescent moon. "We'll take the courier vessel, it's fast and unregistered." Ethan hesitated. "You're stealing your own ship." She smirked, borrowing indefinitely. They climbed aboard, the cockpit coming alive as her fingers danced across the controls. The engines purred, then roared as blue plasma arcs lit the hangar floor. Alarms blared again, this time with more urgency. Unauthorized launch detected, all defense systems active. Ethan buckled himself in tightly. Okay, when this is over, remind me to teach your people about indoor voices. Turrets on the hangar walls rotated, glowing ominously. Saris yanked the throttle and the ship surged forward, weaving between bolts of plasma fire that scorched the air. Ethan clung to the seat, yelling over the noise, "You sure you know how to fly this thing?" "I designed it," she shouted back. "Oh, well, that's comforting in a terrifying kind of way." The ship blasted through the hangar's containment field, shooting into the violet skies of Violia. Below them, the city's crystal spires reflected the twin suns like blades of light. Ahead, the stars stretched endlessly, freedom wrapped in danger. For a moment, silence filled the cockpit, broken only by the hum of the engines. Ethan exhaled shakily. "So, we're fugitives now." Saris glanced at him with a half-smile. "You say that like it's a bad thing." He chuckled, rubbing his face. "Oh no, I love being hunted across galaxies. Really brings out the best in me." Her laughter was soft but genuine. "You're impossible. I've been told that's my most consistent quality." She leaned back in her seat, the starlight catching her features, strong, beautiful, otherworldly. "Where will we go?" she asked. Ethan looked out the viewport, watching the stars drift by. "Somewhere quiet, somewhere nobody cares about politics or miracles, maybe a planet with actual coffee." Her gaze softened. "You joke even when you're afraid." He nodded. "Yeah, it keeps the panic from scheduling a full takeover." For a while, neither spoke. The ship cut through the void, the hum of hyperspace growing louder. Then Saris reached out, resting her hand gently over his. "You know, for a creature from a so-called death world, you have a strange habit of bringing life wherever you go." He smiled faintly. "Guess we evolved that way. Dying is easy. Living's the hard part." The stars ahead stretched into luminous trails as the ship jumped into faster-than-light travel. Behind them, the planet of Violia shrank into the dark, but the echo of its chaos followed, a storm of belief, fear, and change spreading across the galaxy. Ethan leaned back, eyes half closed as the stars blurred. "You know," he said softly, "if I ever get back to Earth, I'm charging the universe for emotional damages." Saris laughed quietly, and for the first time in days, Ethan felt something like peace, fragile, uncertain, but real. The stars faded into streaks of white as the ship dropped out of hyperspace, settling into orbit around a nameless, green-blue world. It looked oddly peaceful, untouched by the metallic sprawl of civilization, wrapped in clouds that shimmered faintly like silk in starlight. Ethan pressed his forehead against the viewport and sighed. "Finally. A planet that doesn't have a committee waiting to dissect me, probably." Saracen smiled, unstrapping her harness. "Scans show breathable atmosphere, low radiation, minimal fauna, and a small ocean. It's quiet." "Quiet's good," Ethan said. "Quiet means no lasers, no priests, and no one asking if I can resurrect their pet." They descended slowly through the atmosphere. The ship's hull shimmered as it met the thin layer of ionized air, painting the sky in hues of violet and turquoise. When they touched down, the ground beneath them was soft, covered in luminescent moss that pulsed gently underfoot like a living heartbeat. Ethan stepped outside and breathed deeply. "Smells like mint and ozone. I might actually live here forever." "You say that about every planet we land on," Saris teased. He gave her a sidelong look. "Yeah, but this one doesn't immediately try to kill us. That's a refreshing change of pace." They set up a small camp near the edge of a crystalline lake, the water so clear that it reflected the twin moons perfectly. As night fell, faint lights began to drift above the surface, tiny organisms rising like sparks in a gentle wind. Saris watched them with fascination. "It's beautiful, almost holy." Ethan handed her a ration bar. "Careful, you're talking to the galaxy's most wanted heretic. I might start charging you for religious experiences." She laughed softly, unwrapping the food. "Do you ever stop joking?" He thought for a moment. "Only during dental appointments." They sat in silence for a while, watching the glowing water ripple in the starlight. Then Sarah spoke again, her voice quieter. "Ethan, the healings, they're changing you. You feel it too, don't you?" He hesitated before answering. "Yeah, every time I use it, it feels like something wakes up. Like a pulse beneath my skin, not just energy, memory, as if a million years of survival are whispering through me." She looked at him, concern flickering in her eyes. "And if it consumes you?" He met her gaze. "Then you'll have to stop me, preferably before I start glowing and talking in riddles." Sarah smiled faintly. "You already do that." "Hey, sarcasm's part of the charm." The night deepened. Somewhere in the distance, a low hum resonated, not mechanical but natural, like the world itself was breathing. Ethan frowned. "You hear that?" Sarah nodded. "It's harmonic, almost like a signal." She adjusted her scanner, eyes narrowing. "It's coming from beneath the lake." Ethan raised a brow. "Okay, we've been on this planet for 4 hours. Is it too early for the mysterious alien ruins part of the adventure?" "Never," she said, already walking toward the water's edge. He groaned and followed, muttering, "I miss being boring." The lake's surface rippled as they approached. Saris activated a pulse beacon, sending a soft wave of energy into the depths. The response was immediate. The water glowed brighter, and a geometric pattern of light spiraled outward, forming a massive circular structure beneath them. Ethan blinked. "Oh, sure, perfectly normal, glowing underwater circles. Happens all the time." Before they could react, a column of light shot upward, enveloping them both. Ethan instinctively shielded his eyes, but there was no pain, only warmth, and the sensation of being lifted. When the light faded, they were standing in an enormous chamber of glass and energy deep beneath the lake. In the center floated a crystalline construct, humanoid in shape, ancient yet somehow alive. Its voice was neither male nor female but resonant, echoing in their minds. "Children of different stars, one of you carries the echo of origin." Ethan groaned softly. "Great, another ancient AI that knows me better than I do." Sarah stepped forward cautiously. "Who are you?" "I am what remains of the first architects," the voice replied. "When the universe was young, we seeded worlds with life, each adapted to endure. But on one world the fire of survival burned too bright. That fire now lives within him." Ethan blinked. "Wait, you're telling me my species evolved because you guys wanted a survival experiment?" "Yes," the voice said. "And you, human, have awakened the dormant resonance of that design. The power to mend what was broken, but also the power to unmake." He rubbed his temples. "Fantastic. So I'm basically a walking reboot button for biology. Your kind were meant to adapt beyond the limits of creation, but unchecked adaptation brings ruin. Choose your path carefully, healer." Before Ethan could answer, the light began to dim and the chamber trembled. Saris grabbed his arm. "The structure's collapsing." "Of course it is," he muttered. "Ancient ruins never just stay stable after delivering cosmic exposition." They scrambled toward the rising shaft of light as water rushed back into the chamber. The moment they broke the surface, the lake erupted in a cascade of glowing mist. The ship's sensors went wild, but the structure below vanished completely, leaving only silence. They stood, soaked and breathless, beneath the pale moons. Saris looked at him, her expression unreadable. "So, the universe built you to fix its mistakes." Ethan chuckled weakly. "Yeah, and somehow I'm still bad at fixing my own life."